She's known as Baby Veronica, and she was at the center of a high-profile custody battle. Her adoptive parents are white. Her father is Native American and has been fighting for her alongside his tribe. The case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. At the heart of the case is the Indian Child Welfare Act, or ICWA, which mandates that every effort be made to keep Native children with their families or tribe. Congress passed ICWA in 1978 in response to an alarmingly high number of Native children being removed from their families and placed in non-Native homes that tied to their cultures and communities severed in the process. 35 years later, the fundamental protections of the law are still being fought for.
The requirements of that act apply from the minute Indian parents and Indian kids walk into the courtroom, and it's just not happening.
Here in South Dakota, Native children are only 13% of the children in the state, but more than 50% of those in foster care. And the majority are placed with non-Native families in group homes or institutions.
We welcome you to beautiful Pine Ridge, South Dakota, where leaders are born.
For the Lakota people here, the issue isn't just about child custody. It's about cultural survival.
Long time ago.
Now for full disclosure, I'm Native from the Anishinaabe Nation. My dad and older relatives were taken from their families and put in residential schools in Canada, where the expressed intent was to kill the Indian and the child. My family here in South Dakota have lost children to the child welfare system. The stories in this episode of Fault Lines hit close to home. This is the Pine Ridge Reservation, home to the Oglala Lakota. It stretches for over 2 million acres across the southwestern corner of South Dakota. This land is home to a rich culture, but has also seen some of the darkest parts of Native American history. In the 1800s, the government began sending Native children from across the country to boarding schools, sometimes using armed police to remove them from their families.
Through the agencies of the government, they are being rapidly brought from their state of comparative savagery and barbarism to one of civilization.
Native American children were stripped of their culture and identity. Many suffered abuse in the schools. The assimilation policies continued. In the 1950s came the Indian Adoption Project. Native children were taken by social workers and missionaries and placed in white homes. By the time ICWA was passed, more than 25% of Native children had been removed from their families. Today, what Native Americans call historical trauma still casts a long shadow. We are in Kyle, a town on the reservation, and people are walking today against suicide, an all too common occurrence in a place with little industry and where more than 80% of the people are unemployed.